Good evening, savages, and welcome to another episode of Savagely Paranormal.
Hi.
This week we are talking about Bogyman and all of his interesting, weird subspecies,
Different name types,
different versions. All of his different versions.
Yes.
We'll go with
Variations.
that. The variations. There's a lot of them. Bogyman is found in different places across many different cultures.
Pretty
and
much
stuff.
a version of Boogeyman within every culture,
Yeah.
nationality, everywhere.
My favorite version, not my most favorite version of Bogyman, but probably the one that haunts my nightmares the most is called the Bubik, or the Sackman. And he is from, like, Czech, Slavic type areas, and he's a giant skeleton-ish scarecrow, and he drives a cart pulled by cats.
Nice.
And he, like, cruises after dark through towns looking for misbehaving children and or the vulnerable adult. He's not picky.
Hey.
And he lures people in by sounding like a baby. And he cries, and it lures people in, and then he eats them, and then it's said that his clothes that he wears are weaved from the souls that he has stolen.
Okay.
It's interesting.
Kind of cool. Creepy.
I mean, and in other cultures, he's a monster. He has big teeth and big sharp claws, and he's just an entity that
Just like a dark, shadowy type thing.
Yeah. There's a lot of...
You know, the kids always say, Mom, the Boogeyman's in the closet.
Or parents...
Like my kind of guy.
Or parents are threatening their kids after dark. If you're out after dark, the Boogeyman will get you. Like, that was a big thing when I was growing up.
Yeah.
We were always threatened with the Boogeyman.
Not me.
Not me.
You're not inside before it gets dark. The Boogeyman will eat you.
Mine was like, please, Boogeyman, take her. Don't want her. Get her. Gone. But,
Right. But there's a lot of different versions of Boogeyman. And, there are, three main types of Boogeyman. Like, one that, kidnaps kids or to eat them or teach them a lesson. Ones that are more violent prone. And then you have ones that are the protector type spirits, which I find is kind of weird.
Yeah, that doesn't really fit the whole Boogeyman thing.
Right. He's
But
also called
non-Boogeyman?
I mean, it's kind of like... I guess, Krampus could be considered kind of sort of a Boogeyman.
Yeah, he does all the basic...
Same things.
Yeah.
He's got sharp...
Naughty children's sack.
Yes.
He's got the naughty children's sack. Yes. He's the anti-Santa. That's what they call him. The anti-Santa.
Yeah. Sorry, I prefer Santa. But
I'm always on
I
the
like
naughty
all
list.
the scary, creepy stuff. But I like Santa.
I mean, he's definitely he's definitely interesting. I mean, in some tales, the Bubik or Boogeyman, he has a pumpkin head, and or in other versions he also looks like the orcs from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
which
that
is
one.
creepy.
That one, he's said to wear a flour sack suit and a flour sack over his head that is soaked with blood from all of his rancid sores on his face.
Yum.
Yeah, isn't that
Yeah.
pleasant?
Right.
And then that one, the one that wears the flower suit, he just randomly goes from town to town and goes from orphanage to orphanage and grabs the babies, literally throws them in the sack. Doesn't matter if there's already babies in there. So you've got babies just slamming on babies, and then he haphazardly carries the bag, slamming it on the ground as he goes along, and then when he gets to wherever he's dropping them at, because it says he would just leave them at other orphanages and stuff, the ones that he didn't consume, he just dumped the bag, and there was just bloody bodies everywhere of babies.
It's a lot of mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in Spain they have the sack man, which is like it was actually based off of a serial killer that, or not necessarily a serial killer, a murderer.
Kind of like the Muffin Man.
He murdered a 7-year-old child and used his blood and fat to...
Oh, that was him. That was his name.
Leona?
Francisco Ortega is the person who had just been diagnosed with TB.
Yeah.
And the guy's name, he went to see a healer named Agustina Rodriguez, and she sent him to Francisco Leona, who was a barber and a healer. And then he's the one who went and killed the kid.
To try to make a fat self.
Yeah, it was actually
he used his blood and mixed it with sugar.
He
and
killed the
fried
guy's kid. That's what it was. It was the
it.
guy's
Oh,
kid,
it was the
Julio.
guy's kid.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And what he did is he used chloroform to drug the kid, and then after he drugged him, he placed him in the sack, and they took him out of the sack. He was dazed and confused, and then Leona stabbed him and then proceeded to mix his blood with the sugar and drink it, and he murdered him by crushing his skull, and there we go.
It's interesting and weird and horrible.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, as a kid, that would scare the snot out of me.
Right. Sack man's gonna get you.
I don't want to be stuffed in a sack.
But I mean, like the Boogeyman sack man thing, he's got like different like versions of himself throughout like everywhere. Like, and he looks different, or he does different things depending on the region and the cultural background. That's the word I was looking for.
Because there's always something in history that happens that is a little bit mysterious or unknown.
Yeah.
So as you pass that story down generation to generation to generation, it gets tweaked a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. So what could have potentially started out, like, take this for example. Yeah. He went to get the kid for some reason, and the kid fell down and crushed his skull and died. But by the time it gets passed through generations, it ends up like this. Not saying this isn't true, but I mean, any of these Boogeyman stories could potentially be nothing or something.
A lot of myths and legends are usually based around something that has happened in real life.
Mm-hmm. The Boogeyman is just interesting because, you know, like, he has, like, different weird things, like, different forms and different names, but it's all, like, the same general, like, concept, like, parents threatening your children that are misbehaving. Like, if you don't watch out, the Boogeyman is going to eat you. He's going to take you. He's going to spank you. He's going to...
Yeah.
XYZ.
It all boils down to children behave.
Yes.
Or he's going to get you.
Yeah. But, I mean, in some folklores, you know, the Boogeyman is, like, a demonic entity. In others, he's, like, the Shadow Man. The Hat Man. It's just, it kind of like depends on where.
It depends on what thing in history started the story.
Yeah.
Because if it's, you know, I saw this unknown thing.
Stuffing a kid in a sack.
Yeah. Well, did it have a human shape, or was it short, or was it tall? And so.
When did you see it? What time? How dark was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, how old is the person who saw it? Because then that changes the whole description right there. If a kid saw it and they said it was tall, it could be 4 foot tall because the kid may only be 2 feet tall. So it's all open to interpretation.
Yeah. I mean, the Sackman in the Czech people's, like, version is, like, he's actually, like, based on a real person that, like, stuffed orphans into sacks and, like, carried it back and forth and, like, dumped their bodies. Kind of like your version of the Boogeyman.
Yeah.
Which is weird. And, like, in, you know, like, in Slovakia, the Bobek, he's said to be, like, go between the land of the living and the land of the dead on his cart pulled by cats, which is...
Meow.
It's weird, but, like... And, like, the kids that he kidnaps are not, like, automatically, like, murdered horrifically. They get stuffed in his sack, and they're kind of, like, in an existence between, like, dimensions.
There was another one that was
weird.
kind of like that, too, where he would kidnap the kids, but he wouldn't kill them. He took them into the forest and fed them berries until they became feral.
It's interesting.
Yeah, so then you have a whole
Right.
herd of boogeymen, so to speak.
Right. The Sackman in like some of the Spanish speaking countries, he takes children in the night and turns them into slaves. So that's always that's interesting. That's interesting. Like,
You want to drop some off here? I could use some help.
but I mean, like, I don't know. It's just I don't know. I find the thought of there being one being across so many different cultures, like, there has to be
something to it.
Something to it. Like, not, I mean, like, people from, like, here to China have a different version of...
Yeah, there's
It's
one
literally
in everywhere. There's
everywhere.
Australia. Everybody has their own version, and they're all very, very similar.
Yeah. So there has to be something.
Yeah.
There has to be some form of truth to it.
Well, then you run into the, sorry, I have to readjust here. Then you run into the thing where if you take that and you kind of compare it to traits and stuff of demons,
Yeah.
we cross the lines there. So is this a human entity? Is it a true quote-unquote cryptid? Or is it a demonic force at work?
Right. And in some cultures, they are considered, like, devils, demons, kind of things. But in others, it's just the weird old man that you see that kidnaps kids and puts them in a sack. Like, it's all, like... the sack thing seems to be a common denominator in this. Like, he's putting kids in sacks and taking them, or...
Well, take that and go back to the Santa thing.
Take it back to Krampus. Krampus does the same thing.
Yeah.
And he's considered the Christmas demon.
Mm-hmm.
He's considered a demon.
Yeah.
He's the anti-Santa.
Yeah.
And my kid is obsessed with Krampus. I don't know why. She just likes him.
Because she's special.
She is special. So special. It's always the you know, if you don't behave, Krampus is gonna come for you.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay.
Right.
I'll go with him.
I'll go watch for him.
That is not a threat for you. Okay, cool. She wants to dress as Krampus for Halloween.
Cool.
She's an odd one.
Cool.
Definitely.
So then you also have to think, okay, so all these things are so similar.
Mm-hmm.
In a perfect world, we would figure out what they are. But in reality, we probably will never know the answer to that.
Right.
But could these all be actual beings or things that have existed rather than just stories? Or could this simply be explained by, you know, the village raising the kids, just making these stories because you don't want the kids to go outside of the village for something to happen to them?
Right, and a lot of people think that if you talk about a creature long enough and hard enough and people believe it, they can believe it into existence. So
Yeah.
is it one of those things where it's like group hysteria where everybody is thinking and believing and seeing it? Or
They're projecting it out there, so there it is.
Yeah.
But you also got to think, back in the time when most of these myths and legends came about, we didn't have the science that we have today. We didn't have all of that.
Right.
So you could have been mauled by an animal in the middle of the night while you were out, and somebody comes across you in the morning.
Right.
It's the boogeyman. The boogeyman ate him.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these stories were created in order to scare kids, and like especially back like before we had like modern technology and modern living.
You didn't want the kids outside of the village circle to be...
It wasn't safe.
There's
wild
animals, there's intruders, there's... Who knows what could happen to them. So anything you got to tell them to keep them in that... I mean, they're kids. They want to play. They want to run. Ooh, I heard a noise. Let's go see. Nope, Boogeyman's out there. I ain't going out there. You can, but I'm not.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting subject. Boogeyman has always been one of those things that have intrigued me. Like, is it real? Is it not real? What is it? Is it?
Are we boring you, Brian?
No. Still adjusting the medication.
Just teasing.
Is it? Is it a creature or is it a spirit? Like, have people actually physically seen a physical embodiment of it, or is it all like?
Well, even still,
weird, wispy.
You can see a full-blown apparition and think it's a person.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I love all these legends and lore because I'm of the mind of I would like to say that some of those creatures exist, but I'm more of the thinking of the mom thinking we just came up with this so that our kids don't wander.
Right.
But I would love to
have proof.
Yeah, I would love to.
That they exist.
Yeah.
That it's there, it's something. It has to be something. Like people don't just. Well, I mean, I guess people do make up stories just to make up stories to see if.
Have you never made up a story to your kid?
Nope, not at all. I wouldn't do that.
No, never. No.
I have numerous times. You can't do that because I don't know, whatever. Or
even if I had, I wouldn't admit to it.
Or my favorite one is because the tooth fairy forgets to come sometimes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had fun with that with COVID. I'm like, oh man, she was probably afraid to come in because she didn't want to get COVID.
Teach the kids young to trade body parts to the fae.
Yeah.
Trading with the fae for monies.
Yeah. Well, hey.
Tooth fairy, cousin to the lesser known bone fairy.
I don't know.
The often more violent bone fairy.
More vicious, violent. But, I mean, a lot of the descriptions of the boogeyman are very similar.
Yeah.
Through cultures. So, like, we're talking, like, sharp teeth and fangs, red or yellow
height
eyes.
Is always the same.
They have a bag, or they're on a cart, or...
They're in your closet.
Their clothes are made up of, like, the darkness. Like, you can't tell where they start and the darkness begins.
The closet thing, those tend to be those other little things that we don't like that tend to like to hang out in closets.
Shadow people?
Yeah.
Yes.
So there again, could that be something like that? It's entirely possible. Because usually when they're seen, they're dark. Who knows?
I mean, generally, shadow people, it's hard to tell where they start and the darkness begins.
Yeah.
Like,
you can definitely see a form, but not...
That's usually darker than the darkness around it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just, I think it's interesting that even, like, some of the native tribes have different versions of, like, the boogeyman, or... It just intrigues me that there's so many cultures throughout the world that have a similar weird creature.
Yeah.
You guys are watching this, you should. And you're from a different part of the country, world
yes.
than we are. Post in the comments below your country's version of the Boogeyman, because we are really interested in this stuff.
Yeah, we would love to hear it because we have been reading so much about them, and I'm sure there's some out there that we have not even come across yet.
Like Mexico, they have La Llorona, and that's kind of sort of
Sort
a boogeyman, but not really a boogeyman.
That'd be a boogie
Same-
woman.
Same basic theory.
Right.
But
it's not always a male figure that shows up for the boogeyman. There are other cultures that have like the little old lady that comes with the bag. There are
yeah,
other places.
primarily they're men, but there are some that aren't. Yeah.
No, I would say they're probably more
Androgynous.
masculine inclined
Yeah.
versus feminine, because I don't believe a boogeyman or the entity that which is considered a boogeyman would be defined by a gender.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
More of a
It's a lot
male
of,
looking type, not specifically gender.
it's a lot
yeah.
of like scarecrow-esque weird figures with pumpkin heads.
Yeah.
Ogres. That's a lot of things like you can't really like sex based on like what they look like scarecrows. I mean, as a scarecrow. like-
Let's not go down the whole gender road, please.
There's enough of that going on in the world.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody.
Let's just skip over that. That's a whole 3-hour-long conversation there.
Right. It's just, I don't know, it's weird that there are so many different versions of the same creature, and they have a lot of different names, but it's generally like the same thing.
Yeah.
Like-
Primarily, they all go after kids. I mean, there are those random few that, like, there's the, I can't think of what it's called, but there is the woman version who goes after the men who are cheating or being unfaithful or just doing something they shouldn't be doing. And I can't think of who she's called right now. It's on the tip of my tongue, but she's usually seen in the white dress, I believe. And she is usually, as they're driving down the road, she will appear.
Oh, I know what
Usually,
you're talking
Yeah.
about, but I
that's the
can't think of
the woman in white.
Yes.
That's a woman in white.
But
There's
she had
there's-
another name too, but I can't
There's a
think
name
of it.
for it. She's also seen in some like Irish, Scottish
Yes, she's
folklores
huge
where
in
she like
Irish.
forces them to marry them, and like they're never seen ever again.
She'll appear in distress. She'll get in the car and then poof.
You're gone.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
This is how you die.
Yeah. You die because you stopped for me because that's who you are.
Dumb ways to die.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yes.
But generally it is kids, but there are those few that kind of
The
like
Bubbic.
the karma coming around thing.
Yeah, the Bubbic is not one that that strictly solely eats children. He will also eat vulnerable adults, which is probably another reason to not go out after dark. Well,
Yet,
I
what
mean,
do we do all the time?
we go out after dark?
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But just don't go in the woods if you hear a baby crying.
Oh yeah, no.
No.
Or if you see a little kid running through, no.
No, we don't do that.
No.
No. We have enough. No. We don't. No, we're not doing that. Let's not do that. No.
Mm-mm. We hear a baby cry. We see a little girl running through the forest.
I'm going to call the
Brian.
cops.
No,
I'm going to call the
I just
cops.
call Brian. Brian, go get it. See what it is.
We're just going to call the cops, and this way nobody gets eaten
Yeah, true.
by mysterious things in the woods. Like,
Yeah.
The
Well, the cops might get eaten.
lady in white in Portuguese is called the Dama Branca.
Okay.
yeah. She's, yeah.
Lady in white, white lady.
They like to lure the people, similar to like the Boogeyman lures the children's.
Yeah. Kind of not the same thing, but kind of like how a siren lures the
Yeah.
guys or whatever.
There's
Not the same thing.
There's
so.
an elemental thing that does something similar to men. think it's a dryad, but I'm not entirely sure if that's the right word that I'm looking for. She sings and it lures men into the woods, where she keeps them. I'm not sure what she does with all of them that she collects. Does she eat them? I don't know.
Maybe she tortures them by making them clean.
Oh, maybe.
You must cook and clean. Pay your penance.
Pay your penance. You must do the washing.
Do the laundry. Cook. Clean.
Effectively, the lady in white or such spirits like that, they don't do the torture. They just outright kill you.
Yeah.
And make it look like, it almost looks like natural causes or you died of fright.
Yeah. They have that horrific face and they're like, ah.
Yeah. Like the petrified.
Yeah.
Like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Face. Like the Dementor.
Yeah.
Sucking the life out of you. But I don't know. It's just, it's interesting that we have so many different things that are like similar.
Yeah. It's pretty cool, though. However these things came about, the consistency through all the years is pretty...
Like, is it like the same entity and you just like dimension hops to other places? Like...
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's possible. Again, it depends on what it actually is.
Is it a shapeshifter? It
Could
could
be
be a shapeshifter.
Could be.
Shapeshifter would be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, then again, I don't think it's just one entity either.
No. There's probably a whole
slew of them, like
Yeah.
a whole like clan of like underground weird monsters that just eat people in the dark. They hide in the shadows.
Maybe they don't
eat
people. No.
Maybe they don't eat them in the dark. They just steal them in the dark, and then they go to their little spook cave and...
They're spooky.
What is that delicious smell?
They smoke them.
Like once they have you like in their sack and they're like taking you and you're like between
naughty
dimensions and they're naughty children's sack but they're like you're between like dimensions and some of those things like where do you go? Like where do they take you? I want to know. Like,
Maybe they have a big...
No, you really don't want to know.
no, I don't want to get eaten. No, but I want to know. I'm curious. I want to know kind of sort of where you go if you get kidnapped by one.
I want to know.
Well, in order to know, you're going to have to get kidnapped.
Yeah.
No, why can't one of the kidnapped ones come back as a spirit and tell us?
Because that just wouldn't happen.
No, because a lot of them weave the clothing that they wear out of the souls that they've stolen. Which is weird.
Sounds to me like you're volunteering as tribute.
No. No. Can we, like, toss a tracker on, like, a fake kid?
I would think they would know the difference.
Get one of those oh-so-real baby dolls and put a GPS tracker with a camera on it.
Leave it on the foot.
This is kind of dry. There's no blood in this thing.
You could get some of the fake blood capsules.
We can make fake blood.
I know how to do that. That's easy enough.
This kid had diabetes. That was very sweet.
This is really sweet. Why is it so sweet? Yeah. So fun.
Oh,
the things that we think of. Right? Yes. Like I want to know. Like where do they go?
Well, I mean, if
I want to know, but I don't want to know. Like I don't want to be the one that finds out firsthand where they go.
No.
But I'm curious.
I just want to know. I want the answers to all these things.
Like what is it?
I mean, isn't that kind of what drives us to do what we do? Because we want the answers to all of the things.
Yeah. I mean, we do a lot more paranormal stuff than we do, like, cryptid hunting.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, I would go cryptid hunting if we had something to hunt besides... I'm not hunting melon heads. I'm sorry. That's not happening.
I mean, but what if cryptid hunting is a lot like snipe hunting?
Well, where you're out in the woods in the middle of nowhere.
I'm going to leave Meg there to hold the bag.
Yeah.
She'll have her sack. And we're going to go off in the tall grass with the flashlight and scare them toward her.
The sack man.
If we come back and find babies in your sack, we're leaving you there.
Where'd you get the babies?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
You got the babies in the sack.
How do those get there? All right, now this is done. We're done.
We're done. No.
You're staying here with your sack men.
But I mean,
Now-
Apparently, you are going to find out where they go.
but I mean, like, but at that point, like, do you know if it's really meat or if it's the sack man? Because they're supposed to be shapeshifters.
Either
So
way,
if you find
you're-
a sack full of babies with
Either way,
me,
your
is it
ass
really
is
me?
staying there. Whether you're the sack man or you're Meg, and you're holding a sack of babies, your ass is staying there.
Give me like the 20 questions to see what I know.
Yeah. No.
We gotta come up with a quiz that only we know the answers to.
That will be my nope moment. Nope.
You're
I'm
gonna,
out.
you're gonna nope on me?
Yes.
I will no
Leave
longer
me
be
in
your
the
person.
dark?
Yes.
You know, leave me in the dark.
You holding
You're
a sack
damn
of
right.
babies? Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't. No. I draw the line at other people's.
Yeah.
At stealing other people's children. I'm good. I
Yeah.
have one of my own. I don't need any more.
Right. All right, guys, we got to wrap it up for today. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications, share us with all your family and friends.
Come hang out with us on Discord, where we hang out primarily.
And if you're not a Discordian, we are on Facebook.
Yes, we are.
Check out Brian's new coffee mug.
Check out my new coffee mug. It's from the Savage Gear Store. Check the website.
See you later, savages.
Bye.